See, our clock has died, so we're in for a long sermon this morning. Well, good morning again. I trust you had a good week in the Lord. Or a trying week. Always. It seems that I told Mike I had a new word. It's tribulations instead of tribulations. Anyway, missed y'all last week, but it's what the Lord has for us at times. And good to be back with y'all, as Donald says. Good to be back with God's people. We'll be in 2 Samuel, chapter 22 here. Continuing to look at this poem or psalm that David wrote. You know, we're coming to the end of 2 Samuel. We started this out in April of 2016. I started in 1 Samuel 1 with Hannah's prayer. And a happy Mother's Day to you mothers. I've told y'all before I was a big mama's boy. And I love my mama. We went last night and celebrated with them and had a good time. But my mom weaned me. Just like Hannah weaned Samuel. They're both physically and spiritually. My mom is not my rock. My mom is not my strength. My mom is not my emotional security anymore. Her and my dad both spent a lot of time teaching me about Jesus. They weaned me into that and put me on to Him. And I'm glad they did. Now, I delight in my mother. I do. And my father. We're close to both of them. We go on vacations with them. I drag my wife along. She has to put up with her in-laws. No. But, like I said, my mother weaned me off of that. And there was a time when I needed my mom. And I thank God for that they taught me to lean on. Listen, David here in the first part of this chapter, who did he talk about was his rock? Who did he talk about was his fortress? Was it another human being? Was it one of his wives? Was it his mother? No, it was the Lord. Listen, if my mother or my father or my emotional strength, so to speak, there's going to come a time when that will end. Because here at the end, David, when he makes Solomon king, he tells Solomon, he says, I'm going to go the way of all the earth. I'm going to pass away. I'm going to die. It is appointed unto man to die. The day that ye eat thereof, thou shalt surely die. So death is a part of life. And in thinking about this, I'm thankful that my parents did wean me off of them, so to speak, and taught me a lot about Jesus. Listen, I did not appreciate it at the time. There were times when it bothered me because I'd see my other friends getting to live the way they wanted to live, and I was brought up in a Christian-centered home. God-based home is what it was. But now that I'm old, I thank God for it. Melissa had the same thing. Thank God for that. Y'all know Mr. Danny. A good Christian home. My word will not return void, and it didn't. Train up a child in the way they should go. So that's my homage I'd like to say for my mother this morning, that she was not perfect. We didn't come with a user's manual. We just didn't. Well, we do. Yeah. We do come with a user's manual. But David here, he spent the first part of this chapter talking about what God meant to him. Then he talked about, as we saw last time, how God delighted in him when he cried out to God as a child, cries out to a parent or a father for help, how God in His anger showed up and defeated His enemies. And then we come to the last parts of this chapter here, and what comes on the scene is mercy. mercy. I talked about how I saw my other friends getting to do what they wanted to do, but I couldn't. I did not realize that what I'm being shown was God's mercy. Those messages, I'd never seen that before. Where Jesus called out those three to his place of trouble. I'm glad. My point is, I am more thankful now than ever that God delights in me and that I've been shown his mercy. And that though I couldn't go do what this flesh wanted to do, I'm thankful I couldn't now. I would have went to hell loving it the whole way. And we see that everywhere. And that scares me. But by the grace of God, there goes I. In verse 50 here of this chapter, David says, "Therefore I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, among the heathen. And I will sing praises unto thy name. He is a tower of salvation for his king, and showeth mercy to his anointed, unto David." Does mercy have your name this morning? Does mercy have your name this morning? David said it had his name here. Listen, David was a man's man. He was a king's king. He was the head musician. There was no other musician like him. Look, we've got one of the largest book in the Bible is the Psalms. And he penned most of that. And in this chapter here, he's doing his best in words to let you know that all that came from God and not from him. A shepherd boy, the youngest of 8. In 2 Samuel, I won't turn there, but in 1 Samuel 13, you remember Samuel came out to Saul after Saul had disobeyed the order and offered the sacrifice. And Samuel told him, says, "God's rejected you. He has sought out a man that's after his own heart." I want you to think about that statement. Whose heart am I after this morning? Whose heart am I after? Why was David after God's own heart? Because he knew what was in his heart. David's not perfect. And he recognizes, as it said there, showeth mercy unto his anointed, unto David. Throughout this chapter, David is acknowledging that he lives and moves and has his being in God. This is, the edification of that in Acts. And I got to thinking, whose heart am I after most of the time? Most of the time I'm after my own heart. What I want. It's wicked. In verse 29 there, David points that out. "For thou art my lamp, O Lord, and the Lord will lighten my darkness." The Lord will lighten my darkness. I'm so thankful that God showed mercy upon me and called me out and separated me and took delight in me. Now I've had to take up my cross, but I'm learning more to appreciate that and count my blessings, name them one by one. That I'm at the end of this old dirt road this morning talking about Jesus. Where else could I be? Where else could you be? Listen, you're here this morning by design appointment because he showed mercy on you. Now David did mess up. And what is the first thing that David said in Psalm 51 when he messed up? I'll read it to you. "To the chief musician, a psalm of David, when Nathan the prophet came unto him, after he had gone into Bathsheba. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according to the multitude of thy tender mercies. Blot out my transgression." Jude opens up with mercy unto you and peace and love be multiplied. So does mercy have your name this morning? And if it does, are you glad? Mercy being the Lord. Mercy is when you don't get the judgment you deserve. Yep. And that's why David in verse 29 there said he lights his darkness. He knew he was not a perfect man. He knew and that's my point. I am so undeserving Which makes me, listen, David's credited with being praised crazy. And I got to thinking about that when in researching this, or I read that, David being praised crazy. The man fought 66 battles and did not lose a one. 66 battles. Was anointed king when he's 30. You know how inexperienced and stupid I was at 30? Y'all ask Melissa, she'll tell you. King at 30. Reigned for 40 years over Israel. Because God delighted in him. Now that implies that, listen, 66 battles, that's a lot of fighting. We talk about having to fight hell by the acre. There you go. But who better to be fighting it with? And what better cause than to be fighting it for? We talk about these young ones about to graduate. That's just unreal that it's already over. We'll soon have been here 9 years. Life is but a vapor. But His mercy, He has anointed me with His mercy. I thank Him for that. I thank Him for the journey. Like David. I wish I could write a poem like this to the Lord. And I've started thinking more along this. Enter His gates with thanksgiving, like I'm trying to do this morning. That I'm at the end of this dirt road, celebrating what He has brought me through. That's what David's doing here. He is a tower of salvation for His king, and showeth mercy to His anointed, unto Clay Wilson. Does it have your name this morning? Are you thankful He does? Or would you rather be somewhere else? Whose heart are we after? Whose heart are we after? He said He'll give you the desires of your heart if you acknowledge Him and put Him first. And I've learned that way too late in life. Again, happy Mother's Day to you mothers. You're special creatures. I thank God for mine. I love y'all. May the Lord bless you.